Hello, I'm Connor Kelly, reporting from Moncton with the New Brunswick Media Co-op. I'm speaking today with Chris Watson, who is the interim president of the New Brunswick Federation of Labour. And we're speaking to him at the Federation of Labour's office in Moncton. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
To provide full disclosure for listeners and viewers, I'm part of the staff of United Food and Commercial Workers Canada, and I'm the vice president for youth at the New Brunswick Federation of Labour. So today we're discussing the outlook for organized labor in New Brunswick for 2025. But first, we'd like to spend some time just paying tribute to Daniel Legier, who is president of the New Brunswick Federation of Labour until his passing just in December, at the age of 65. He did a number of interviews with the New Brunswick Media Co-op for a series called Labor Update. So we're trying to pick up where he left off. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Chris?
Yeah, certainly. But we talk about where Danny picked up, where Danny left off, and we do know that his shoes will never be able to be filled. Danny was a true advocate for not only the labor movement, but for New Brunswickers as a whole. And I always say that I wouldn't be in any position that I am in today if it wasn't for that man. He gave me the push and encouraged me to do everything that I do, as he did everybody in the labor movement. So his presence is definitely missed, but he would want us to push on and try to make a difference, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Yeah, I remember I only knew Danny for a couple years, but like I was new to the city and immediately was being asked to be involved in this or that, show up to a convention. He volunteers you to be on a committee. He was really good at welcoming new people and building people into what he knew they could be rather than what they saw themselves as. So now let's talk about some of the current labor issues in the province. CUPE 1190 represents some 2,200 general labor and trades workers in the provincial public service. They voted overwhelmingly in favor of strike action last summer. Bargaining came to a halt when the whip dropped for the provincial election. The union announced on Wednesday, January 22nd, that bargaining had resumed. The New Brunswick Media Co-op previously reported that there's major issues for the CUPE 1190 workers include wages and benefits for casual employees who receive practically no benefits, but represent about a third of the locals' membership. Can you talk about the issue of casual labor for CUPE 1190 and casual labor as a larger social phenomenon?
Yeah, so when we talk about casuals and things like that, that's exactly what it is. It's casuals. There's no guarantee of any hours, anything like that. So when you talk about casual stability, there's you got to have wages to make up for it. You know, when you're working 30 hours or under, or even less, you know, when you're in seasonal work and things like that, you need to make sure that you have those wages to offset that. Obviously, we'd like to see more full-time jobs, but when government cuts and cuts and cuts over the years, then you start getting more precarious workers. And we'd obviously like to see them be able to maintain benefits as well, because in today's day and age, without benefits, the costs are just going up and up and up, and then it becomes astronomical and unaffordable.
Yeah, no, and that makes me wonder, like, do you find even the term casual for casual labor, like, is that a fitting word? Like, why do you think that word's used?
When I think of the word casual, I think of, you know, if someone can't be there, you know, for the day-to-day operations, then a casual would be there to pick up the workload when somebody's out. When I think of casuals, I don't think of long-term positions being casual. If a casual is there in a long-term position and it's there, then it should be posted full-time.
Yeah. So now let's talk about anti-scab legislation. For anybody unfamiliar with the term, a scab is a replacement worker during a labor dispute, like a strike or lockout. Basically, the employer is bringing in a worker who replaces people on the picket line, which weakens the union on strike or locked out, and starts pitting workers against each other because they see somebody replacing them at work, which is making them more precarious. Right now, there's federal anti-scab legislation that's been passed, but on the provincial level, there aren't any anti-scab laws. So What are your thoughts on anti-scab legislation, and how important do you think it would be to bring into New Brunswick?
I think anti-scab legislation is extremely important. When a group decides to go on strike, it's a last ditch kind of effort. And when employers are bringing in non-unionized replacement workers, it prolongs strikes and it weakens relationships. And it's definitely something we need here in the province. I know it was introduced previously. I think it was Bill 48. But at that time, we saw the election and everything happen. So that became, I guess, a dead kind of bill. So we need to see that back introduced here in the province of New Brunswick. I know federally it's set to go into play, I think June 20th of this year, Bill C-58. And, it's nice to see the federal government recognizing that it's necessary, and it's time that we get it here as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. Have you had any personal experience, like, with either being on a picket line or hearing of people on a picket line having to deal with scabs?
Not myself personally. I know I was involved in the 2021 strike, uh, but in our sector, for myself, we never had actually any replacement workers come in. But I have heard in the past about previous strikes where that has happened, and it's just not good. And sometimes some of the people that are going in to do those positions, not necessarily wanting to do them, but they're trying to, they're trying to make a living for their family too. But it creates nothing but barriers and frustrations, and just prolongs the complete the collective bargaining process.
So talking about prolonged collective bargaining processes, the relationship between Labour and the previous government was really tense. Like, they really stretched things out.
Yeah, extremely tense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now Blaine Higgs is gone. What's the current outlook for relations with the government under Susan Holt?
We're remaining hopeful. Premier Holt, I should say, did state in her different statements that she did want to rebuild labor here in the province, and I welcome that. I think that we need that. Uh, it's really important to have a good working government labor relations, and like I said, we're really hopeful that we can build on those relations again. I'm going to be contacting the Premier's office to try to set up a meeting here in the coming weeks to see what we can do to build that relationship back.
Mm. No, and I hope that goes smoothly. So now we've just seen the re-election and inauguration of Donald Trump in the United States, and it looks like the Conservative Party under Pierre Poilievre's really a sharp rightward turn in politics. What would that mean for the labor movement in New Brunswick and across Canada?
If Pierre Poilievre was to get elected,
Yes.
yeah. Well, I don't think that would be, in my personal opinion, I don't think that would be a very wise choice. I know his track record isn't the best. Uh, being a 25-year-old politician, I don't think anything away from anybody getting involved in politics young, and I mean, good on them. But, when you're making decisions that impact the lives of Canadians, like for instance, when you vote against a $15 minimum wage, when you vote against dental coverage for seniors, when you vote against pharmacare, you vote against $10 a day daycares, and you vote against expansion of the EI, to me, that speaks volume in itself, and it does nothing to benefit any Canadian. We need somebody in there who's going to work on behalf of workers and going to do things to better the lives of everyone.
Looking at labor news from elsewhere in the country, CBC's reported that Amazon plans to close its facilities in Quebec. This is just after 300 workers unionized a warehouse. And now, with the closures, about 1,700 jobs are going to be lost, and they're going to outsource deliveries to third parties. Um, what are your thoughts on Amazon doing that and closing so many facilities in response? They say it's not related to the unionization effort at the warehouse, but do you think it's related? Like, what are your thoughts on that kind of behavior from an employer?
My thoughts on it, I'm looking into it, and from my standpoint, it's clearly a union busting tactic. Uh, they opened up a facility there in 2020, and they opened up 5 more again in 2021 to try to keep up with the demands and trying to keep up with deliveries. And here we are now in 2024, in May of 2024, they form their union, and here we are in 2025, and now they're closing up shop across the province. To me, that's a clear union busting tactic. I was reading some different stats. New York City and Staten Island workers there formed a union in 2022, and they still wouldn't have a contract. So again, tying back to what we had talked about, first contract legislation, it's very important that that's why we need that here in the province of New Brunswick. And obviously in the US, they need that as well. But they're trying to say that that's one of the things that caused, I guess, frustration and closures because of that first contract legislation. But to me, that is something that it should be in play to keep the employer accountable to getting that contract and getting those workers, obviously, some financial stability. And looking again, it's roughly the average cost in Labelle, Quebec is $3,415 per month for one single renter, and the average salary is $22.82 an hour. So, when they're looking at better wages, again, better benefits, things like that, the employers shouldn't, I guess, necessarily like close up shop and move everybody out. To me, it's a terrible tactic. And I really feel for those workers. And yeah, I mean, they said they opened it up to meet greater demand. So why are they closing them now? It's right. So to say that it's not a union busting tactic, it clearly is.
Yeah, because I would doubt that people are ordering less from Amazon in 2 years if they opened up in 2020. 4 years,
Right.
not like Amazon's gotten less popular.
Right.
So what else is on your radar for the coming year? So you're in the role of president until the end of May, when the Federation of Labor has its next convention. Can you talk much about what's in store for the convention or what's planned?
Well, it's still currently in the works. I will say that it isn't, like you said, it's in May. It's May 25th, 26th, 27th, and it is going to be at the Delta in St. John. We do have convention planning committee meetings coming up. We're going to be nailing down our theme and setting our agenda for what we're going to be doing. We're still currently reaching out to speakers, things like that, and putting together our resolutions committee. And I guess resolutions talking about what the plan is going forward for the Federation. We did adopt a work plan about resolutions back at the 2023 convention. So we're still continuing to work on those. And we're also continuing to work with our various coalition groups, such as Coalition for Pay Equity, the Common Front for Social Justice, New Brunswick Health Coalition, ACORN, the Literacy Coalition, and there's many more that we work with as well. Again, working with our NDP, we are a partisan organization. So we do work with the NDP. Again, we have the federal election coming up, so we're going to be doing some work around that. We also, again, be contacting the Premier's office to hopefully reestablish that labor relations. And we're going to be continuing to work with the Canadian Labour Congress and the Federation presidents from across Canada on the the Council of Canadians as well.
No, that's great. And could you talk a little bit more just how are new presidents elected to the Federation of Labor?
So the president, when to get elected into the position, it does take place at the convention. So we will be electing a new president at the convention in 2025.
Oh, great. And finally, I believe that there's some scholarships available through the Federation of Labor. Would you be able to just talk a bit about that?
Certainly. Yeah, and we actually just put out our scholarships. We sent them around to all the high schools, universities, things like that. There's different criteria for those. You do have to be an affiliate, obviously, of the New Brunswick Federation of Labor. To do that, has to be like your parents. So there are different stipulations and there's different criteria on that, but everything can be found if you're not sure on how to find out about those. fednb.ca is our website, and all the information on the scholarships can be found there.
Great, thank you. Is there anything else that you'd want to add? Anything else you think is important to talk about for labor in 2025?
Just the fact, we are mourning the loss of the death of our brother Daniel Legier. But I just want everybody to be reassured that, labor is strong. We're all continuing to work together. I know there was previous groups, public sector coalitions. So all the labor leaders in the province, we still get together, and we're still going to be pushing forward to make a better New Brunswick, not only for our members, but for New Brunswickers as a whole.
Great. I've been speaking with Chris Watson, interim president of the New Brunswick Federation of Labor. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks.